John, today's question comes from Steve, and Steve said, if I own 100% of a C Corp, are dividends paid out of that corporation considered earned income for Social Security? Now, what I think Steve is asking here is, will this count against me for the Social Security earnings limit? As most of our listeners know, there's an earnings limit. If you file for benefits before your full retirement age, the Social Security Administration imposes a certain amount of earnings that you can have before they will start to withhold benefits. I think it's a bit of an archaic law that needs to be done away with.
Yeah,
I don't really know what the purpose of the law is at this point, right? I mean, it's to disincentivize people from filing early. I get that part. But if actuarially the benefit payments coming to you are all going to be the same, right, over your lifetime, that's how they've calculated the reductions, what difference does it make?
Fair enough point, right? Yeah. I mean, you're going to get what you're going to get. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
Why would the Social Security Administration involve themselves in the affairs of people that
Well,
are wanting to file
and then
early?
it leads to questions like this.
Yeah.
Of hey, restructuring assets to work within the system.
Yeah.
Right. Because, if this guy was, if he was taking a paycheck out of his C corporation,
Yeah.
well, that would be earned income.
Right.
So stop taking a paycheck and take it as a dividend.
And now
It's not.
it's not earned income.
Right.
So the answer, Steve, to your question there is no. If the dividends that are coming out are not going to be part of the earned income that the Social Security Administration is counting. They are only looking at net income from self-employment, and the dividend is going to be considered investment income, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah. Same thing with capital gain.
Yeah,
And
it's going to be classed very much the same way. And then if you're a wage earner, it's going to be your wages on a W-2.
But along this same line, I actually just had this conversation with somebody this last week. A lot of times I'll see somebody like Steve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a self-made business, right? It's his business. He's actually contemplating retirement, right? Which is why he's not taking a salary anymore. And often maybe one or more of the kids are involved in the business. But he's trying to figure out, he needs money from the business for retirement,
Mm-hmm.
right? He can't live on the Social Security alone, but he doesn't want to work there anymore. He's trying to figure out what to do. And another option related to this is not what he asked for, but one of the ways you can do that is what's called a Section 302 redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And so often what this would look like would be, for example, let's say it's my business, Devin, and you're my kid and you're now running the business and I'm out. But I take 10 grand out of the business every month. I've been doing that for years and I count on that for my retirement, right?
Right.
Well, we don't want to take that as a salary. One, I'm not even working there.
Yeah.
Two, there's employment taxes and that's earned income, which is going to affect my Social Security benefit. Possibly, whatever the deal is, right? Well, if I were to gift you a share of the company, right? So now you're a joint owner.
Mm-hmm.
And if the gift is small enough, depending on the value of the company, one share of the company may not be enough to trigger any sort of taxable event, right? But anyway, I give you a share of the company, and then the company redeems all of my stock. It buys it, right? That's what a redemption is. The company buys my stock back.
Yeah.
Typically on some sort of note, right? And so we take, I need $10,000 a month. So you essentially do a note in reverse.
Yeah.
Right? Take my $10,000 a month, take my actuarial life expectancy, and hey, there's your purchase price for the business.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Right? Now what I'm getting is capital gain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not going to affect my Social Security because it's investment income. It's going to be taxed at the lower capital gain rates as opposed to ordinary income rates, like the dividend would. But that also means that the company is going to have an interest deduction associated with those payments that they're making to me. So it's really kind of the best of all worlds there.
Yeah.
It's a way to get out of the business, but still keep money from the business ongoing. There are a lot of rules related to that. Got to be very careful because there is something called a disguised dividend. The IRS would rather tax you as a dividend as opposed to a capital gain.
Yeah.
And so this does have to be a legitimate transaction. There's some steps you have to follow. But as long as you do it correctly, then the IRS will treat that as a capital gain transaction. You now have your retirement income for the business. You've done your succession plan so the kids can now run it, and off you go.
Interesting. You know, that does bring up another question, and it's something that right off the top of my head, I'm not too sure I know the answer to. So is the dividend from a C Corp like this considered a qualified dividend or an ordinary dividend? You said they would rather tax you as a dividend, so I'm assuming that it's going to be an ordinary dividend.
That would be an ordinary dividend.
So it's going to be taxed as taxable income.
Just regular old taxable income.
It's just not subject to self-employment tax,
Correct.
and therefore that's
right.
not
It's still
getting
investment
caught
income,
up.
so there's no earned income for Social Security, but it's still ordinary income, just like interest expense would be.
Interesting. Lots of tricks in the old bag of John Ross.
There are tricks.
Excellent. Well, Steve, I hope that answers your question. And for the rest of our listeners, John, where do they go? How can they get their questions answered?
Just go to the website, bigpictureretirement.com.
In the top menu bar, there's a section that says Ask a Question.
There you go.
And then we get it here. And we'll read the question and give a good answer to it. All right. Thanks for listening.